Try something right now. Drag your fingertips slowly along your own ribs. Nothing. Run them up the side of your neck, under your arm, across the bottom of your bare foot. Still nothing. Now picture someone else doing the exact same thing. The same touch, the same spots, the same pressure. Your whole body already wants to squirm. Same fingers, same skin, same nerves. Completely different result. Why?
You have probably never stopped to ask. It feels like one of those facts that is simply true, like the sky being up. But hidden inside that small impossibility is one of the strangest things your brain does every single second you are awake. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The real answer has almost nothing to do with your skin. It is about prediction. Your brain is not a camera. It does not sit quietly behind your eyes, receiving the world as it arrives. It is a forecasting machine, constantly guessing what is about to happen a fraction of a second before it does. As you read this line, your brain is predicting the next word, the feel of the surface under your hands, the weight of your own arm. Most of those guesses are so accurate, you never notice them. You only ever notice the moment one of them is wrong. So think about what happens when you reach out to touch yourself. Every time you decide to move, your brain does something quietly brilliant. It fires the command down to your muscles, but it also keeps a copy of that command for itself, a private internal memo that says, I am about to do this, so here is exactly what it should feel like. Scientists have a name for that memo. They call it an efference copy. It is your brain predicting the sensation of your own action before the action even lands. And when the real touch arrives, your brain compares it to the prediction. If they match, something remarkable happens. The brain turns the sensation down. It decides this signal is old news, self-made, nothing to worry about, and it quietly mutes it. You produce the touch, you predicted the touch, so the touch barely registers. That is why your own fingers on your own ribs feel like almost nothing at all. Now think about a stranger's hand. Your brain has no memo for that. There was no command, no copy, no prediction. The touch lands raw and unexpected and at full volume. No mute button. That sudden, unpredicted signal is the tickle. The squirm, the laugh, the flinch is your nervous system reacting to something it did not see coming. So the question is not really why you cannot tickle yourself. The question is what part of your brain is doing all this predicting? And the answer sits at the back of your skull. There is a small, dense structure tucked beneath the rest of your brain called the cerebellum. For a long time, it was thought of as the part that simply handles balance and coordination. But it turns out the cerebellum is also a prediction engine. It is the part that takes your intention to move and forecasts the exact sensory consequences, so the rest of your brain knows what to expect. It is the thing writing the memo. A neuroscientist named Sarah Jane Blakemore decided to prove this in one of the most clever experiments you will ever hear about. Working alongside Daniel Wolpert and Chris Frith, she built a tickling robot. A person would move a lever with one hand, and the robot would use that movement to tickle the palm of their other hand. When the robot tickled them in perfect sync with their own motion, it felt like nothing. Self-produced, predicted, muted. Exactly as if they had done it themselves. Then she changed one thing.
She added a tiny delay, a fraction of a second between the person's movement and the robot's touch. Or she rotated the direction slightly, so the touch came from an angle their brain had not predicted. And suddenly, the tickle came back. The very same person, the very same hand, the very same machine. Now squirming, because the prediction no longer matched the reality. The bigger the gap between what the brain forecast and what actually happened, the more ticklish it became. The tickle, it turned out, lives entirely in the mismatch. Sit with how strange that is. Your ticklishness is not a property of your skin. It is a measure of how surprised your brain is.
This riddle is older than the science. More than a century ago, two researchers named G. Stanley Hall and Arthur Allen noticed that tickling is actually two different experiences wearing the same word. There is the light, creeping, almost itchy kind, the feather along the arm, the bug on your skin shiver. They called that nismesis. And then there is the other kind, the helpless, breathless, laughing kind that comes from being tickled hard in the ribs or under the arms. They called that gargalesis. They are not the same sensation, and your own hand cannot trigger the second one, no matter how hard you try. Even Charles Darwin was fascinated by this. He pointed out that for tickling to work, a few conditions all have to be true at once. The touch has to be light. It has to land somewhere unexpected. And strangely, you have to feel safe. A tense, guarded person is hard to tickle. A frightened one is impossible. Darwin noticed that the mind has to be, in his words, in a pleasurable condition for the laughter to come at all. Tickling is not just touch. It is touch plus surprise plus trust. Which raises a much stranger question. Why does any of this exist? Why would the body have spots that, when touched the right way by the right person, make you collapse into laughter you cannot control? What is ticklishness even for? Look at where your ticklish spots are. The neck, the ribs, the soft of the belly, under the arms, the feet. Now notice something. Those are the exact places you would instinctively protect in a fight. The places where the body is most vulnerable, where an injury would be most dangerous. Your most ticklish zones are your least defended ones. That is almost certainly not a coincidence. One leading idea is that ticklishness is a kind of training, a reflex that teaches you from infancy to guard your softest spots, to twist and shield and pull away the instant something approaches them. And the laughter that comes with it is the signal that turns a defensive reflex into a game. It says, this is play, not danger. This is someone I trust, getting close to the parts of me that could hurt me, and we both know it is safe. This is why tickling is almost never something you do alone. It is social. It is one of the very first ways a parent and an infant play, long before words, a back and forth of approach and squeal and laughter that builds the bond between them. And it is not unique to humans at all. The neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp spent years studying play in animals, and he discovered something that sounds like a joke until you see the data. Rats laugh. When he tickled young rats, they let out rapid, high-pitched chirps, far above the range of human hearing, and they came back again and again, chasing his hand, asking for more. The same ancient circuitry of play and touch and laughter runs through them. Ticklishness is not a quirk of being human. It is a very old piece of being a social animal. So here is where it all comes together, and where it gets genuinely unsettling. The system that stops you from tickling yourself is not a small, isolated trick. It is the same system that keeps you anchored inside your own skin. Every second of your life, your brain is sorting the world into two categories: things you caused and things that happen to you. When you reach for a cup,
Your brain predicts the motion and labels it me. When the cup is yanked from your hand, the prediction fails, and your brain labels it not me. Something else, out there. That constant sorting is how you know where you end and the world begins. It is the quiet machinery behind your entire sense of being a self.
Tickling is just the place where you can feel that machinery working. Your own touch is tagged as self, predicted, muted. Another person's touch is tagged as other, unpredicted, loud. The line between those two tags is the line between you and everyone else.
And we know what happens when that line breaks. Sarah Jane Blakemore found something haunting in her later research. Some people whose brains struggle to tell self-generated actions from outside ones, including people experiencing certain symptoms of schizophrenia, can sometimes tickle themselves. The prediction system that should mute their own touch does not fire correctly, so their own hand feels like a stranger's. The same glitch that lets them tickle themselves can also make their own thoughts and movements feel as if they belong to someone else. The inability to tickle yourself, it turns out, is a sign that one of the most important boundaries in your mind is intact.
Think about what that means for everything you experience. The solid, seamless world you feel yourself living in is not arriving raw through your senses. It is being predicted, edited, and labeled in real time, with your own actions quietly subtracted out so that the rest can stand out clearly. You are not watching reality. You are watching your brain's best guess of reality, with you carefully filtered from the picture so you do not get lost inside it.
You walk through the entire day, never noticing this. The prediction is too good, too fast, too silent. The one time the curtain slips, the one time you can actually feel the machine running, is in something as small and silly as a failed attempt to tickle your own foot. So run your fingers along your ribs one more time. That nothing you feel is not nothing. It is your brain in that exact instant doing the most important thing it ever does, drawing the line between you and everything that is not you. The reason you cannot tickle yourself is the reason you have never, for one moment of your life, been confused about where you end and the world begins.